Now we will talk about guidelines for conducting interviews. The cost of interviewing can be reduced if it's like done by telephone and you don't have to travel anywhere. However, I think that is like great to do it in video or just like be able to meet the person somewhere. I think that that really is a way of like building a relationship with someone, especially if you're trying to do community engagement. So you have like that personal contact. But you might do it like I would say it's less desirable via email. Sometimes people don't have time and you might have to send them some questions and then they answer those via email. But if not, do phone, if not video, and ultimately it'd be great to do it in person and also to have the person choose the place that they would like to meet so they don't have to go to your office. And the way that you find people is like through the snowball method. So if you are interested in learning about what people think in a particular neighborhood or community, you will contact the few people that you know there. Maybe it's like two community leaders, and then you ask them who else I should talk to, and then that will increase your sample just by people that know other people, and this is called the snowball method. By targeting groups of individuals that will be interviewed rather than like randomly intercepting someone so they can do your survey. So that in a way introduces a bias to the sample. If if you were going to do this like in a scientific manner or defend it, but like the way that qualitative researchers think about this is like very different. So you're choosing a person for a particular reason, and you might choose different people to provide for you a different perspective, so you can have like a more representative way that people think in that particular neighborhood. You don't want to talk to everyone that is part of a particular group, and then um, maybe you should also talk to people that have a different idea, even in some instances having a oppositional group to that community group. So you want to be fair and like interview people that might have different interests in the particular issue. And when questions like are asked in different ways or by different people, then it is like harder to see what is like different, because you have like, so if you have several people asking questions, people might respond differently just depending who they are. So people might have biases regarding the age of the interviewer or their gender identity, um, whether or not they have an accent. So all those things could introduce some bias, and so those are things that you just have to think about in advance, especially if there's like a team of people conducting the interviews, and then like coming together to be able to analyze the what people said. So there's obviously an interviewing effect, and if you cannot do anything about that, you can just simply acknowledge it, that um, that this is an issue, and know that there will be some bias, and just acknowledge it. And then you have to have like a clarity of purpose of like why you are going to ask from this person. So in because of this, you want to create a guideline of questions. Just like in the focus group, you want to say, okay, these are the topics that I want to discuss, these are the types of questions that I will discuss. So it will be like a semi-structured questions in a guide. But obviously every person, based on their personal experiences, they might talk about different things, and because of that you might follow up with another question that is related. So it's always like try to stay on topic, but you will ask questions that are different from the guide. It's never a good interview if you're like strictly going to the 10 questions that you thought about, and then you don't think about the expertise that this person has and their ability to give you insights into something that maybe you didn't consider before. So it's a fine line between sticking to the guide, but also allowing for some flexibility. And the most important thing is that you do have some idea of what you want, as opposed to be disorganized and just like have a fishing expedition, because people could get also offended if they don't see you being prepared for that interview. So you can say, well, this is by these interviews are not a scientific sample, so it's okay to just simply acknowledge that and just include the major points of views. So no major groups or major perspectives are left out, and it's important that you interview also the people that you need um, to interview in terms of those perspectives. So just make sure that you don't leave out like an important person. That's why you do the snowballing simple, right? There will be a point in where you have enough people, and the people that are working on a particular topic are like a little bit outside. So that's when okay, I interviewed the 10 people that had the best information, and everybody's like referring to each other. So then okay, this is like good, and I should stop now. Also the same thing with the interviews, like there's a point where you start hearing the same things over and over again. There's not that much additions, and that's like a good time for you to say, well, I am going to stop now interviewing, because I got the data that it was like necessary. This is often called in qualitative research the saturation of data. You have enough to create your story. So if possible, the best person to conduct, well, the person that conducts the interview should like set up the appointments, and then um, they should tell the person why they're trying to meet with them, just kind of give them a purpose, and just like again ask for something reasonable, like 30 minutes to an hour at most. And just make sure that if you have like someone that you're delegating this, for you to have an interview, that the person knows enough to be able to answer the questions to the interviewee. So if you're going to have like again an administrator, secretary, an assistant that will help you, this person needs to know enough of like being able to communicate why this matter and what is important. We already talked about the length, but again, you should stick to 30 to 60 minutes. And this is true of like meetings overall. I feel that most people are willing to do give an hour, but preferable it would be half hour, especially if they're like really busy. Obviously, you will send a reminder several days like in advance. You will put it in their calendar. You'll be amazed like how many people miss meetings these days because it's not in their calendar. So just make sure that you're emailing them, but also sending a calendar invite, and that you're confirming the appointments.